Hi viewers, you are well aware that I am Dr. Jetling Yellosa, running a YouTube channel called Law Speeches, and regularly I am posting my lectures on various facets of law and also the world affairs. And my channel is available in three languages, that is English, Hindi and Telugu. So you know that I am in the United States of America. In the series of my lectures, I am dealing with the US laws and the constitution and court systems. So today also I am dealing that aspects only. You know, here we are the fag end of the winter session. There is a chilly weather is there outside, and fast by next week I think so we are approaching the we are getting the summer. So today we discuss the another important aspects pertaining to the US law, that is the highest law of the land, that is the United States Constitution. You know, Constitution is a supreme and sacrosanct document to any country, and that is not an exemption to the United States of America. Here also the Constitution is considered as a very sacrosanct document as that of in our country, India. Here the Constitution is a very abridged manner. The US Constitution consisting of only the minimum articles. So before that, dealing with that aspect, you know, the Constitution was considered as the oldest document in the world. It is a written document, written constitution, which is there in existence since 1787 AD, and which is adapted on the 17th of September 1787 and at Philadelphia, the Pennsylvania state, and which came into force from the March 4th of 1789 AD. So since then, it has seen traversed a long journey where it has incorporated some important rights pertaining to individuals. So at the time of commencement, those rights were not there, but later which were incorporated. So basically, the US Constitution provides only 7 articles, and around 27 amendments were made during this long traverse since 1787 onwards. So before going it, the main features of the Constitution of the United States is concerned. It is a written constitution because the document was drafted in Philadelphia of Pennsylvania state. Though there were limited articles were there, but it is the oldest written document which is available in the world is concerned. And the system of governance here is the federal system. The Constitution of the United States provides the federal system of governance because the America is considered as a main source of federalism in the world. The basic features have been emanated from this American Constitution. Here, the federal government one side, the state government other side, they are sharing number of issues in between them. But the federal government is a very weak, not as strong that of in India constitution is concerned. It is very weak. Much of powers have been given to state governments. So in other words, we can say that state is very, very strong, whereas center, a federal government is very, very not much as that of the strong. The other feature of the US Constitution is that it is a recognizes the separation of powers. You know, the Montesquieu, the famous jurist who propagated the separation of powers doctrine, where legislature, executive, judiciary, they have owned their domains. They have to act in their domains only. They cannot interfere into one domain to other domain. So that kind of feature is there in the US. So specifically it provides that there is a separation of the power. Then we at the federal level we have the US Congress, which makes the law, and for executive, the president also enforces the laws made by the Congress, and the judiciary is another independent body which interprets the protects the rights of the citizens of the United States of America. The other feature is that checks and balances. So to see that the proper functioning of the states, everywhere we could see checks and balances. For that, even the president of USA makes a law that is not a supreme, then that can be challenged in the court of law. Even a person can go to a district court, can challenge that. But the same is not there in our country. We have to go to the high courts or Supreme Court. But here, directly one can go to the district courts. We have seen that recently when the second term Trump came to power. He made a number of amendments to the immigration and nationalization laws. So people, NGOs, they filed cases in the district courts. They got the stay of the executive orders made by the President Trump. Then President is though he is a supreme power holder, but he can be impeached from the position if he makes acts illegally against the Constitution of the United States of America. So impeachment motions can be launched against him in the US Congress. Then, so Supreme Court has given a high regard, and which can say that, which has the power to interpret the US Constitution and also the disputes between the states and also the disputes between the citizens of the states, different states. So that is jurisdiction which is conferred upon the US Supreme Court. The another important feature of the US Constitution is that fundamental rights. So fundamental rights are inalienable rights that cannot be taken away by the state under any circumstances. The same rule which is there in India, that also be there in the United States of America. So first 10 amendments, which out of 27 we are talking about, all those have been related to the fundamental rights. Here they be called as a Bill of Rights. So these fundamental rights protects the primary basic rights of the individuals, citizens, like the freedom of speech and expression, freedom of religion, fair trial rights, protection against the unlawful searches, then right to have the guns. It is also a fundamental right. A lot of debate is going on whether is it a proper to provide the gun rights, arm rights to the citizens of US or not, because sometimes we have seen are seeing there may be number of tragedies have been happening in and around. So some organizations have been questioning that it should be removed from the as a fundamental right. Right to possess arms should not be there as a fundamental right, because which are leading to the a kind of violence in the society, a kind of unrest in the society that should be removed. But as on today it is a fundamental right. Even the same has been ratified by the Supreme Court of America as a fundamental right. Then we can, other feature of the US Constitution is that amendment process. So Constitution can be changed, can be amended, but a rigorous process is there. But in our country, in India, the process is three kinds of processes are there: simple majority, majority by the states, then the majority by the states, as well as the ratification of the states, half of the ratification of the states. But here it is a stringent law is there in the Constitution. They can amend, but they have to follow. It is not a fixable, it is a rigid amendment. And so in spite of rigidity of it, so far 27 times the Constitution of US is amended. But in our country, we amended around 135 times within the span of 75 years. But here, within the span of 250 years, only 27 times the Constitution is amended, because it has a lot of processes there, a rigid process is there. So that is the reason it is not frequently amended. Then there is other feature is that of the US Constitution is that judicial review. So judicial review is a primary feature of the US Constitution, which strikes down the laws which are violating the fundamental rights, violating the constitutional rights. And that has been stated in a famous case, that is a Marbury versus Madison case in the 18th century. So the judicial process is a fundamental right. Nobody can take away our right of going to judiciary, interpretation of the laws by the judiciary. So the structure of the US Constitution, I just told you that they have only, first they starts with the preamble. The preamble also starts these words: we the people of the United States. The same that of India, because we got it from the American Constitution. So we the people of the United States of America, having solemnly affirmed. So all these wordings are there in there is the preamble. And as I told you that only 7 articles are there in the entire United States Constitution, and still today only 27 amendments were made. So the US Constitution recognizes certain basic principles like the rule of law, democracy, individual liberties, limited governance. So governance should be a limited one. Government should not be encroached upon all the fields of all the fields. So it should be given to different agencies or different parties, but government should be limited. And in other words, in economics we can call it as a laissez-faire policy. So limited governance, limited interference on the part of the government. So there are number of case laws also there with regard to US Constitution, and the foremost case law is the Marbury versus Madison case. that has got a lot of recognition, not only in the United States of America but also in the all other constitutions. It has a lot of effect upon the other constitutions. Then there the judicial review is be declared as a fundamental right by the United States Supreme Court. And other important cases are concerned Brown versus the Board of Education case. That is a very important case, and landmark judgment is delivered. Then Rio versus Wade, another landmark case, and Miranda versus Arizona. Then other case is the United States versus Nixon. So these are the some of the landmark judgments rendered by the Supreme Court of the United States of America. So here we could see the free society. There should not be any sort of discrimination. Any sort of discrimination should not be there at anywhere, any form. That is the basic thing of the US Constitution. Then we can say that here, if we compare with the Indian Constitution and the American Constitution, in the United States Constitution provides the presidential form of governance, whereas the Indian Constitution provides the parliamentary form of governance. And the length is concerned, US Constitution is having only 7 articles, 27 amendments. But in our India, it is a very, very lengthy constitution where we have around 435 articles are there as and today. Then citizenship is concerned, here there is a dual citizenship is there, but in our country only single citizenship is there. Then judiciary is concerned, here also a free judiciary is there, and here in India also we have the free judiciary. And then the amendments are concerned, in the US Constitution provides the difficult amendment process is a very, very difficult. It goes to the Congress, there one house has to pass, and it comes to the second house of representatives, then it has to pass there, then again combined house will be met, and then they will vote. So it is a very, very difficult. But in India is concerned, it is a very easy amendment. We have the simple amendments are there, then there is a rigid amendments are there. It is a admixture of the two, but here is only one, that is a rigid amendments. So then there is a number of, I just told you that some number of amendments were made, that is 27 amendments were made. Here I am mentioning the very important amendments till date, that is the 13th amendment, where the slavery was abolished. There should not be any kind of slavery. That was amended by the 13th amendment. Then we have the 14th, another important amendment that provides the equal protection of the laws. So everybody should be protected equally. That is the doctrine of equal protection of laws, which we enshrined in under Article 14 of the Constitution of India. But here also the same principle is there, and India has taken this principle from the American Constitution. Then due process. So it should be a due process, everything should be a process, and there should not be favoritism to anybody. That is that has been added by 14th Amendment. Then the 19th Amendment of the US Constitution speaks about the women voting rights. So women were given the voting rights in US also, and for males. In the world, the first state to introduce the voting rights to women is New Zealand, way back in 18th century. And in US also that concept has been taken, and we have the women voting rights have been inserted by the 19th Amendment. Then we have another important amendment is the 22nd Amendment, where the President of USA has been banned to hold the office for more than 2 terms. So that is included by the 22nd Amendment. Only one exemption was made during time of Second World War. That is when the Franklin D. Roosevelt was the President of the United States of America. His tenure was extended for 4 times because the extraordinary condition, because prevailment of the Second World War. Till date, no other president has been given this kind of exemption. So these are the basic, very I'm mentioning very concisely. I'm mentioned the features, the things of the U.S. Constitution, because I'm not going in details of it. Peripherally, I am dealt this my lecture. If you feel that my lecture is informative or knowledgeable, please like it and pass it to your friends and others. Thank you.